So hi everyone, thank you so much for joining today. We are excited to welcome you to the kickoff webinar for the Sun Prairie Food Rescue Residential Compost Pilot. Hold on, are you guys seeing the right screen here?
I'm seeing the kickoff webinar.
Okay, perfect. All right, so before jumping into the content, I first want to go over some housekeeping items. If you have any questions during this webinar, please drop them in the chat or use the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen. We will address all questions at the end. To minimize disruptions, please ensure your microphone is muted during the presentation. And then lastly, this kickoff webinar will be recorded and distributed to all pilot participants. All right, so now I'll move into an overview of our presentation. This presentation is meant to be supplementary to the 5-minute pre-recorded webinar you watched in order to sign up for this pilot. So you'll be seeing new and more comprehensive information in this webinar. Over the next 15 to 20 minutes, the three of us will cover the pilot goals and outcomes, the pilot timeline, we'll provide additional information on the required feedback surveys. Greenbox will provide an overview of their services that they'll provide to you over the next 18 months. We'll cover what items can and cannot be placed in your bin, compost distribution, the broader impact of the pilot, and tips to reduce food waste during this pilot. We wanted to start with some introductions of our team here. So we're going to share who we are, our connection to the pilot, and why we are excited for the food rescue pilot. So I will start. My name is Rose Daly. I am the Sustainability and Resilience Manager for the City of Sun Prairie. I'm super excited for our food rescue pilot because this is our city's first effort to pilot at a large scale composting in our city. So we're really excited to see the outcome of this and what it will inform for the future. And I'll pass it over to Ben.
Hey everybody, I'm Ben Stanger, the founder and CEO of Greenbox Compost. I'm really excited for this because we have worked to a small degree with other municipalities, but Sun Prairie is the home of Greenbox, and we're really excited this will be our largest kind of integration with the city, providing a composting service. So I'm hopeful that's the first of many small steps towards something really big. Oh, and Sam, you're up next.
Thanks, Ben. I'm Sam Warden. I'm the program manager at Sustain Dane. Been there a little over 2 years. And I'm excited about this pilot because I love compost. It's kind of what introduced me into the sustainability field and just kind of thinking about circular economies and what we can do better. And then just to also expand the work that Sustain Dane does with the community members in Sun Prairie. We've done a little bit of work with our climate action plan in Sun Prairie. So just excited to expand that partnership.
Great, thanks everyone. All right, so the first thing I want to start with are the goals of this pilot. Why did Sun Prairie want to initiate the food rescue pilot? The reason we wanted to start this is our city was very interested in hosting a pilot that can have a really significant positive impact on our community as well as the environment. The primary goal of our food rescue pilot is to reduce the amount of waste going to our local landfill. We also want to create a circular economy around food waste in Sun Prairie. So what that means is how can we ensure that all of the food waste we produce here stays local? So how can we use that maybe in composting in our local gardens? We also want to test effective food waste solutions for the future. Ideally, in the near future, Sun Prairie will no longer send food waste to the landfill. That is our long-term goal. We also want to increase awareness and education about composting among community members and centralize our composting efforts. So at the end of the pilot, what will the outcome be? The food rescue pilot will divert approximately 60,000 pounds of food waste from the landfill, avoid the emission of nearly 155,000 pounds of carbon dioxide equivalents, and impact nearly 12,000 people. Now, you may be wondering, how can this pilot reach 12,000 people if only 150 households can participate? And that's because this pilot actually includes quite a few other components in addition to the residential side of this. So I do want to take a moment to share those other components of this pilot so you can see what else will be happening around the city while you're doing your residential composting. So in addition to the 150 households that will pilot curbside composting for 18 months, our city will also be piloting compost stations at all major citywide events throughout 2025. So if you've attended any of our summer events so far, such as concerts in the park or Pride Fest, you likely will have seen our compost stations. We will continue offering compost stations at upcoming events this year, including Sustainability Fair in August, Multicultural Fair in September, and Trunk or Treat in October. So if you do attend these events, please be sure to look out for those compost stations and sort your waste accordingly. Another important component of this pilot is testing food waste solutions in our local schools. Beginning in the fall, Token Springs Elementary, Royal Oaks Elementary, and West High School will pilot lunchroom composting and share tables. Food waste reduction and composting education will also be built into the science curriculum, and select classes will have the opportunity to tour the Green Box composting facility. So we want to ensure that our local students are seeing composting both in the lunchroom and in the classrooms. They can understand the full circle of food waste and composting. Now, lastly, a significant amount of compost is going to be produced through this pilot, and that compost is going to be distributed to all of our residential participants, to our schools for use in the school gardens, to our local community gardens, and then to a handful of the urban farms located right here in Dane County. So that's the summary of the full food rescue pilot. Now I'm going to zoom back into the residential pilot and talk a little bit more about the pilot timeline. So at this point, all of you should have your bucket. You should have either picked it up at the June 28th farmers market, or it should have been delivered to your home last week. If you don't have your bucket yet, please let us know at the end of the presentation. Tomorrow, our bucket swaps officially begin, and they will continue every other week for the next 18 months. Your first feedback survey will be distributed on March 1st of 2026. Later that spring, you'll receive your first compost distribution. And then in fall of 2026, so over a year from now, you'll receive your second compost distribution. Your second and final feedback survey will be distributed on December 1st of 2026. And then by January 5th of 2027, our pilot will be complete and your bucket will be collected. So that is the full timeline for the pilot. Next, I want to spend a minute discussing the feedback surveys in more details. So first of all, why is the city requiring pilot participants to complete feedback surveys? The goal behind the surveys is to collect feedback from all of you on if and how the city should offer composting opportunities for residents in the future. So we want to know, did you like having the option to compost your food waste curbside? Would you prefer a drop-off option instead? Is $10 a good price point? We're going to be asking you all types of questions related to that. The format of the surveys will be digital, so we'll send you an online form to complete, which will contain a variety of multiple choice and open-ended questions. If you prefer a paper survey, please let me know and we can accommodate your request. As a note, all surveys will be distributed through an email. That email will come from me, so please ensure that rdaily@cityofsunprairie.com is saved in your email address book so that my email doesn't go to your junk folder. And then lastly, you will have 30 days to complete your survey. So for example, the first survey will be distributed on March 1st of 26, and you will have until March 31st to complete that survey. All right, that is it from my end. I'm going to pass it over to Ben to cover information on Greenbox's service.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody, for being here. I'm just going to do a quick overview, as Rose said, of kind of how we do composting here at Greenbox and what it'll look like for you all in the City of Sun Prairie pilot program. Sweet. So when you think of composting, you probably don't think of a setup like this. And that is kind of what is special about the way that we compost here at Greenbox. The big thing that you're seeing here in front of you is an industrial composting setup. On the left-hand side, you'll see a big agricultural mixer that shreds up all the material that we'll be getting from you all. And on the right side, you see that big gray cylinder that rotates every 2 hours and kind of tumbles the material that went into that compost mix that we have, and provides pathways for air to kind of keep that composting process going. This is a very efficient setup. It allows us to compost that whole array of items that you'll see kind of in the next slide here in a second. We got this set up shortly after our founding in February of 2022. And it's located just south of Main Street on Lindenwood Drive, very close to where all this collection of food scraps is going to happen in the City of Sun Prairie. So it's very efficient and it's very sustainable because we are so close to the creation of all these food scraps here in Sun Prairie where we're doing the collection. Next slide, please, Rose. And you can see here kind of a secondary process where we have bunkers for curing what comes out of that large in-vessel composter. We eventually, after we get enough material, one of those bunkers, we cover it with wood chips and move on to the next one. And so far, using this process, we've composted just shy of 2 million pounds of food waste from the greater Dane County area in the last 3 years. So it's really great. We've grown a lot in that time, and through all that composting, we've been able to produce about 1 million pounds of compost, and mostly we've shared that with local farms, some of the places that we're going to distribute this compost to through the pilot program, and with members like you all. And over that same period of time that we've composted that almost 2 million pounds, we've grown from just me driving around in my Subaru picking up food scraps and buckets to a team of 8 doing that in a bunch of different vehicles of various sizes for various different customers, including 1,000 members, residential members all around Dane County. And weekly we divert about 25,000 pounds. So we're very close to breaking that 2 million pound mark, which is very exciting for us here. And then you should all get this right sheet when you sign up with your first bucket, but you can see there on the right-hand side what is compostable with Greenbox. And it might be a lot more than you've expected in the past with composting. That big one up there on the right, top right corner, which is meat and bones, is something that most places don't accept. We also accept cardboard, dairy products, and the normal things you expect, like fruits and vegetables, and breads and grains that have gone past their, gotten moldy or some such. And the big thing is that we also accept certified compostable products. This can often be a stumbling block for people, so we also have a guide that kind of goes over what these certifications are that we look for and why it's important to kind of look for those specific ones. If you have any questions about these compostable items or anything on this list, you can email us. We have a very responsive team. We have somebody who is on their computer through the workday to answer questions about composting. So we're really happy to answer those questions. And we also have an app on the next screen, next page, called Better Bin that we've partnered with that can really, really help members kind of figure out the ins and outs of what's compostable with Greenbox. They also actually, I think, have various other things that might help you with recycling as well. But if you log in through Better Bin, get the app, and then search for Greenbox on there, you can find everything that's compostable with us. You can search through a database in the app, and you can even email them if you can't get through to us, and make sure that the thing that you're looking at is in fact compostable. And I'll say most of the time, if it's food waste, it is. So feel free to put that in there. But if you're ever unsure, we have a saying: when in doubt, throw it out. So try and keep those the trash, and especially those produce stickers, out of the compost bins. And then a quick overview of kind of what to expect on your service days. Your service day is every other Tuesday, beginning tomorrow. So make sure to set those buckets out tomorrow, before 7 a.m. ideally. And we collect usually just right in front of your front door. There are some people who have, various special circumstances. They live in a condo building or an apartment building. And we've usually figured out some specific setup with them to make sure that works out. We can usually accommodate that. But if you're just a regular home or some other place where it's simple enough, just put it on your front doorstep, just do that and we'll collect it right there. Again, have those buckets out by 7 a.m. so we can make sure to have a successful swap. And every service day we do swap out that bucket for a fresh, clean one, so you can avoid all the mess and smells that normally go along with composting. And we'll take all that on for you, make it nice and easy for everybody. And finally, as Rose said, every spring and fall, our members get compost back. But as part of this pilot program, you'll get 5 gallons back twice, again, probably March of 2026, and probably around September of 2026, maybe a little bit later. But to get that compost distribution, you do have to complete that survey. So make sure that you're looking out again for Rose's email regarding surveys to make sure that you answer the questions about this pilot program, because that's really what we're trying to do here is get information, even more than the food scraps we're diverting. We're trying to get information and make sure that we can have a successful, program in the future here. So yeah, we're really excited to share that compost with you as long as you share your feedback with us. So looking forward to that.
Awesome. And then I'm going to be talking a little bit about the broader impact of food waste and some food waste reduction tips. So maybe we'll be sending a little bit less food to Ben at Greenbox than we would have if we didn't know them. So a little bit just to level set us and kind of put us into perspective, the climate impact that food waste has. So overall, food loss and waste accounts for 8% of our global greenhouse gas emissions. And to put this into a little bit of perspective, if global food waste were a country, it would be the third largest greenhouse gas emitter in the world out of all of the countries. So it definitely has a large impact on our climate emissions, and it's something that we can work on to reduce, and composting is one of those options. But I'll get into a couple more options on the next slide. So this wasted food scale is from the EPA. And basically what I want to show with this is that there are other things that come before compost that we can do to help reduce our food waste in addition to compost, because compost is a good thing too. So you can kind of think of this as the recycling phrase that we have. So reduce, reuse, recycle, and it's usually in that order. So the reducing really here is on the way left side of this food waste scale is the preventing the food waste. So this is at the source, reducing it, and I'll get into some tips on the next couple slides. And then after that, we're donating or feeding hungry people with the food that before that maybe it could go bad if we can give it another life. And then feeding animals comes next on the most preferred method of getting rid of our food waste. And then it's compost. And while compost is still much more beneficial compared to sending it to the landfill or down the drain or incinerator, there are other things that come before compost to help us kind of rethink how we have a relationship to our food and how we can reduce our food waste. And so now a couple tips kind of to reduce food waste from the source. I wish I could make these sound more fun than they are, but it's kind of the simple things that you've probably heard from more than one person. So that meal planning and strategic shopping really does have an impact on reducing food waste from the source. There was a 2015 study that showed that simply writing a list for the grocery store can reduce your food waste by over half, rather than just going to the grocery store and walking around maybe thinking, oh, this looks good, but then maybe not having that sort of plan to go with it. Next, there's thinking about your food storage. So this could be like how you're arranging your fridge or your pantry, and maybe putting things that may spoil quicker, like fruits and vegetables or greens, to the front of the fridge where you'll see them, and then other things at the back that maybe it won't spoil as fast so that you remember to use them. And then lastly, food prep. So making sure that maybe after you prep some things, even if you don't want to eat it all in one sitting, maybe you're freezing it, maybe you're canning it, and there's different options there. And the EPA research has showed that on average, a family of four spends about $3,000 per year on food that never gets eaten. So that breaks down to about $56 a week. So in addition to being good for the environment, we could also save some money if we're not wasting as much food. And then just a couple more tips for you. I'm sure you all have your own that maybe have been passed down in your family and friends and communities. But a couple I'll just run through quick. Stale bread. If it's not too old or moldy, give that stuff over to Greenbox. But if it's not too old, you can heat it or toast it in a warm oven to turn it into croutons, or you can blend it up and have them be breadcrumbs, use it in soups and salads. You can also take greens that maybe seem a little too wilty, they've lost their life and they look a little sad, and they can be crisped back up in a bowl of ice water. It actually works way more than I thought it would, so give it a try. Or you can put wilted greens that are a little bit more wilty, blend them up with like oil and spices and garlic, and maybe put it into a spread or a pesto or a pasta sauce. Cooked rice that's left over from takeout or last night's dinner makes really good fried rice. So maybe plan that into your meal rotation as you're going through those. And then the picture on the right here shows kind of all the veggie scraps in a pot. And this can all be boiled to kind of make that veggie broth. And this list goes on and on. So I encourage you to share with folks what's worked for you, with what tips you kind of come up with, or different recipes that use kind of the bits and ends of things that you maybe other would have thrown away or composted, just to give it another life. A couple more facts for you. So again, to put things into perspective, the global food system takes up about 38% of the Earth's land surface. This is all the animals that are grown for food and also the things that are grown to feed the animals that people then eat. And it's responsible for about 1/3 of all greenhouse gas emissions generated by humans. To put that in a little perspective, it's kind of hard to picture how much 38% is, but all of the cities and suburbs in the world take up less than 1% of the Earth's land surface. So we're occupying way less space. It takes a lot more space to grow our food. So the next slide kind of ties in of why it's important to incorporate a little bit more plant-rich meals, and it takes up a little bit less space. There's been some studies by the United Nations that was done that says that transitioning to some or all plant-based diets has the potential to reduce that diet-related land use by 76%. And diet-related greenhouse gas emissions by half. So even if you're just incorporating these meals once or twice a week, you could do meatless Mondays, or you could do like a plant-based potluck with your friends or family. And then also what I like to do is just check out my local restaurants to see what they're already doing. You may be surprised that if you had your go-to menu item, if you check out other portions of the menu, they might already have some plant-rich meals that are very tasty and they've kind of perfected their recipe, and then it can give you some inspiration for at home. And then my last fact for you here brings it back a little bit locally. So about 1/3 of the waste in the Dane County landfill, which is the landfill we're all using, is from wasted food and other organic materials like eggshells and apple cores. So through this source reduction of the tips I just gave and through composting with this program, we can reduce this number of the amount of food waste and organic material that's being sent to the landfill. And then lastly, I just want to end with thank you for all for being here, watching it today, watching it whenever the recorded version is getting to you, and taking this action to take a sustainable action to being composting, to educating yourself a little bit more on this topic. I encourage you to share it with a friend. And I'll just leave you with a phrase we like to say at Sustain Dane on the screen, which is change happens when inspired people take action.
Great. Thank you, Sam and Ben. And thank you everyone for being here today. We are officially at the end of our content for the webinar. I do have my contact information here on the slide, as well as a phone number and email for the Greenbox team. So feel free to reach out to us with any questions. We are also happy now to move into live questions for the next 7 minutes. So you are welcome to unmute yourself and ask your question, or you can drop it in the chat feature if you would prefer that as well. But the floor is now open for you if you have any questions for us.
Rose, did you say is it worth going over the FAQs just to get some share that and get some ideas for people in case there are other questions that pop up down the road?
Sure. Yeah. So I do have one more slide I can show all of you. I just wanted to share that there is a frequently asked questions button on the pilot webpage. So if you visit cityofsunprairie.com/2040/residential compost pilot, you can review a 3-page document of frequently asked questions about this pilot. So we've received tons of questions such as, can businesses participate? I live in an apartment. Can I participate in the program? I can't afford to participate. Am I still able to be a part of this? So we have all of those questions plus more on the website that you are welcome to review at any time. But yeah, we'll just open the floor up once again if there's any final questions.
Hi, I have a quick question. Is there a drop-off option if you happen to be on vacation during a week that pickup would take place? So like you could drop it off beforehand so it's not sitting in your garage.
Sure, I can take that. So generally, the agreement we have with the city of Sun Prairie is that we're not really a public-facing site.
Okay.
That being said, the thing I want to reiterate here really is like, email us and we'll figure out something. You know, again, we're super local. We have somebody email or phone call like there to answer those questions. And depending on the situation, you know, if it really is the only thing that makes sense, yeah, you can probably bring it in. I think in general, like we don't want people to come in if they haven't, you know, talked to us about it. But if you've emailed us and we can't figure out another time, because often what we will do is we'll just find another day of the week. You know, like if you're leaving, you know, 4 days ahead of time, we'll pick it up like the Friday before that or something.
Okay.
So we'll try to make it work for you. Again, we're super local, so we'll leverage that and just make something work. But yeah, if there is any kind of service related question that pops up like that, yeah, definitely shoot us an email or a call and we'll figure it out.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Any other questions from Marion or Gretchen? All right, well, I think we can wrap up. Again, if you think of questions after this, feel free to send us an email or visit that FAQ page. But yeah, we are all set. Thanks again, everyone. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.